So, hi everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight for the Inventors Roundtable. And we had a pretty good response to the meeting invitation. So we could have anywhere from a dozen to 15 people joining us tonight. And so we want to be able to get around and let everybody, ask questions and tell us kind of, what's going on. And so with that, I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves. Larry, let's start with you because you are in the top left-hand corner and I like to go left to right.
Oh, he's muted.
Larry, you're muted.
Hello?
There you go.
Oh, you said
Talk
top
nice
left-hand corner, it's you.
Oh, my screen's a little bit different. All right, so Larry, tell us where you are in the country, and where you are in the inventing process.
Middletown, New York. Okay. Inventing process. Well, I've invented or designed several things, but two of them were commercialized by the company I worked for. That's about it. I have other designs that I'm trying to get, help, some kind of help, support to commercialize, but I don't know where to turn. I know I was in the Danbury Inventors Club for several years, and I don't know what became of that, but simply it's a matter of money, I guess,
yeah, I mean, there were a lot of the organizations that just didn't make it through the pandemic. There was, we couldn't meet it in person anymore. Fortunately for me, we always did the meetings in person in Colorado, in Denver, and I moved to Tennessee. So all of a sudden now virtual made a lot of sense. And then we started the radio show. And so our inventors, this is kind of the call-in of the radio show. And it has worked very well for the Inventors Roundtable. And so I'm glad to see all of you. And, sometimes the inventor that gives you the most value for your time is the one that's on the screen next to you. And it, never ceases to amaze me, the value that all of you guys give to each other. So thank you for joining us. David, go ahead. You're next. Tell us, I think you were in California. We figured out the time zone thing. So tell us what you're doing and why you joined us tonight.
All right. I'm a newcomer to the group. I'm in Silicon Valley, actually in California. I retired 2 years ago, and my hobby is hiking. And I came across an idea about the potential product, and what's next. That's why I'm joining the group. How to go about it? Is it to patent it, to join force with an attorney? Maybe it doesn't make sense to me right now, but I'm thinking about this. And then what will be next?
All right. Well, we'll answer those questions for you. Dave, you're next. I remember when your grandpa used to show up on your screen. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
My name is Dave Claypatch. I'm actually living in Rhode Island, not far from Newport area. And David, I was actually in your shoes not that long ago. And then I actually met Rita, and Rita guided me all along as far as the right things to do. I am now patent pending. I've invented a dripless and disposable chain lubricator for chains and cables. So you could use it for bicycles, motorcycles. But if you look at the bicycle market, it's usually a very messy operation to lubricate your chain, and usually everybody over lubricates. They just don't do it correctly. All of the bike shops that I've been talking to, every one of them seems to have the same complaint that all their customers are over lubricating. So my device, you put in a certain amount, just a specific amount of lubricant, and it actually lubricates the chain in about 15 seconds without any dripping, no mess. And you literally just throw it away when you're done. So you don't have to worry about dirty rags or anything like that. And the same thing applies towards cables. We have a version of that. If you look at like tow truck companies that have these 100, 200-foot cables that they use for pulling trucks out of ravines and things like that, they have to lubricate those cables. I'm going to say like on a weekly basis if they're using them. And it's a messy process. Basically, they just spray this foam on. It goes all over the place. It doesn't cover the whole cable. You know, my device, you hook it up to the spray can and you could do a 100-foot cable in about 1 minute and without any drips, and it completely gets all 360 degrees of the cable. So, so I'm at the patent pending process. We just finished, I think we just got our patent pending last week. So I'm able to talk about it now. And I've actually created a website, which is almost up and running right now. I've got prototypes. I actually went up to, I don't know if I told you, Rita, I went up to Stowe, Vermont for just a short mini vacation over the weekend. And I couldn't resist bringing a couple of my prototypes. And I ran into like 5 bicycle shops that rent out fleets of bicycles. And the mechanics are just overwhelmed. I actually have 2 of them that want me to send them samples. They could put it in their store because they want to see how it'll sell in the stores for me. And so I've actually got the packaging done. I've got the prototypes finished right now. So I'm all set to ship those out. And I'll be sending those out probably later this week or early next week.
Excellent.
And and I think, you know, as far as what's next, I think proof of concept, and I'm going to try to see if I could sell some of these. I also have a lead on somebody who is actually into racing bicycles for, I want to say handicap because they're incumbent bicycles. I think I haven't talked to them yet, but I think it's toward the handicap market. And they're so into saving what they call watts, which is the amount of energy that it takes to do anything. But to pedal a bike, it takes so many watts. And if they could save a quarter of a watt, they literally shave the hair on their arms so that the wind won't slow them down. I mean, that's how critical they are. So this is going to give them the opportunity in the middle of a race, literally 15-second stop, they can re-lubricate their chain, and that would actually give them, you know, a little bit of an edge over the next guy. It might put them in first place rather than second. So I'm anxious to talk to them too. So
excellent.
So that's where I am without going on and on. That's where I'm at right now.
No, that's good. And so when you are ready to be able to take small orders, I've got some guys. One is a representative, northern tier of the U.S. and Canada, who might be interested in being able to get those out there. And then a gentleman in the western part of the U.S. who might be like to see some. And when you know more of your price points, let me know.
Okay. Right. Yep.
And then Dave is all ready to go to the National Hardware Show with us in March. So that'll be a really good spot for you. Yep. Shelley, you're next. Introduce yourself and tell us what's going on.
Hi there, I have my video. Yes, Shelley Wetzel. I'm in Denver as well, suburb of Denver. I have a universal mobile accessory. It's a stand, but it's also a mounting system. You can mount it under a cabinet. Inside the cabinet gets a wall. You can fold it all the way out and use it as the ultimate selfie video stick. I have 1 patent, 1 utility patent, another still pending. It's taken me a long time to get off the ground for many different reasons, partially money. But I finally have found a mentor with the SCORE in Denver and meeting with him once a month now and trying to get all my initial numbers that I initially need right now in order to be able to pitch to look for funding, but knowing what I need to have. One thing I'm looking for right now, whenever I Google it, I'm not using the right keywords. I'm trying to find companies in the US who contract to Mexico for aluminum production because it's an aluminum product. And I'm just not figuring out how to find those companies.
All right. Remind me, I've got a question for you when we get back to discussion. All right.
I have 1 quote from overseas, from China. I mean, actually I have 2, but one company gave me the quote a little bit more than a year ago, I have questions about the quote and they will not respond back to me.
No.
Probably because, number 1, it's old, and number 2, I haven't signed up to give them a check to start production, but I wouldn't want to start unless I had some questions answered. So I put them on hold for now. I have another company in Orlando that's giving me quotes from overseas, but a couple people have raised that, to look into Mexico. So I'm trying to get like 2 or 3 quotes and then try to put it all into a budget. And then I'm also working on a pitch a written pitch for the National Science Foundation seed money. Might be a long shot, but I'm going to go after everything I can that I think I might have a chance to get funding.
All right. David Lighthouser, you're next. Introduce yourself.
Okay, I'm in Florida. As you said, my name is David Lighthouser. I have sold probably a little over 100 inventions in one way or another. I've never patented anything. I'm actually just starting to get into at least provisional patents. You can see my workshop in back of me here. I have 3D printers and lots of electronic equipment. This is part of my workshop. I got to pan around to see the whole thing. But mostly I do software, electronics, and 3D printing things.
Okie dokie.
I've sold things by a lot of myself, marketing it myself. That's mostly the software, which doesn't cost anything to market because people download it from the web, and that's it.
Right.
And some things. One way I used to make money is I'd invent something and then I'd sell it to a magazine to publish. There used to be all these magazines like Popular Electronics, Popular Computing, or something, and I would just whip something up in a couple of hours and sell it to them and get maybe $400 or $500 or something. And so some things I have licensed and everything. But anyway, I'm now starting to get into the idea of just to be different. The idea of at least getting a provisional patent and then licensing something like that.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll circle back around. Remind me, I've got some information for you too. G, you're next.
Hi, I'm G Kim. I'm in the Bay Area in California, and I am a permanent makeup artist. And for people who don't know what that is, it's cosmetic tattooing for brow, eyeliner, and lips. So I'm inventing a beauty tool. It's a device, a mechanical device that helps people apply makeup on certain parts of their face. I've been working with various developers for the past 2 years, mechanical engineers, to kind of draw what's in my head onto a file. And after maybe 4 or 5 of them, I think I finally found someone really good. I'm very hopeful. And so it's plugging away. It's
Okay.
Obviously the price is what it is, but as long as you're getting results, it's all worth it. Through the SBDC, I found a business plan coach. And so I've been working with him for the past couple of months to flesh out the business plan. And I'm getting ready to apply for some grants. I'm like, I have always one eye on the bank account and the other eye on the tool. And then as far as the PPA, that's something that it's like this monkey on my back. But because the development part was so long, I just really wanted to make sure that 1 year that I have, the grace period for the PPA, I just want to make sure that I don't put myself in a situation where I'm running out of time. But I think that in the next 2 months, I think I'm going to be ready to start the PPA process.
We need to circle back to that. So ask me that when we open up for questions. Diane, you're next. Unmute yourself. Are you there?
Rita, I've lost my voice, so I'm going to have to just listen in today.
All right. All right. Well, when you get your voice back, call me if you need me. Nina, you're next. Introduce yourself and tell us what you're working on.
Hi, I'm Nina, and I live in Denver, and I have 2 things going right now. And one, I'm trying to find connections for to be able to get I don't even know how to say it, contacts to get my product in somewhere. And the other, I am starting to work on resourcing material to be able to make my prototype.
Okay. All right. Steve.
Hi everyone, Steve Gouvet. So about a year and a half ago, I came up with an idea. It's for watches. It's a unique watch band, and it's just it's a watch band that places the watch on the side of the wrist, so it doesn't, allow movement of the watch to move around. So I guess that's the unique thing about it. So yeah, I submitted the non-provisional patent. It's patent pending right now. It's like it's at the point where my patent lawyer sent we had to send a response for the approval.
Well, you had an office action, so you have to respond to the office action.
That's correct. That's correct. That's correct. So just waiting, and hopefully I get it. So just and from there, I'm just planning on just kind of like creating a sell sheet, see if I can sell the idea, or look for a company that is interested. I did try to work on the product myself to try to create it, but I kind of went on the wrong path, so to speak, and I'm like, you know what, maybe it's not for me to do the research and development. But
no, for a lot of inventors, what we call the sexy prototype, it's not. It gets more challenging, depends on your skill set. Some people like, David, where he's got a huge warehouse like that and workshop, he's probably a little bit better at doing, his prototypes, especially if he's got a rapid prototype machine, but not everybody's down that path. So anyway, we'll come back around to that. Rhonda, you're next.
Hey y'all, I live in Georgia, and my product is a bathroom furnishing that allows for dispensing, storing, shielding, and completely concealing toilet paper placed within reach of the seat. And I have 4 models. My first model is made of wood, and I made my prototype in my shop. I have worked off of a PPA for the past 3 years, and I have just recently filed design patents on the 4 models. And my patent agent contacted me just a few days ago that said my deadline for filing international was September 1st. And there is an agreement called the Hague Agreement that is a process that allows you to file in multiple countries. And she says it's a very cost-effective way, and you can a lot of times do it without having foreign attorneys. So that's in process. I do have a manufacturer that has given me a doable price there in Vietnam. So I am now scratching my way through finding out about freight forwarders and custom brokers and warehouse and fulfillment centers, which is all just about to drive me right over the edge.
Yeah, there might have been a wiser way to go on that, but anyway. All right, Dan, you're next. You're muted, Dan. There you go.
Yeah, so I've got a couple different products that I've developed over the years, and working with various customers and getting pre-orders lined up and so forth, so that we can move forward on the engineering and getting the actual product and prototype developed. And so first product is a vehicle designed for search and rescue, emergency management, things like that. The second product is augmented reality glasses.
Okay. Interesting and very different. So let's kind of circle back around to the beginning with Larry and David, where you guys said you were just getting started. The rest of you, I think, are a little bit further along in that. The first thing you do, the first thing you pay for is the comprehensive search. All right. And so when you say you're working on a product, you've had an idea, you may have done a rough version of a prototype. That's all good. You look around as much as you can. But the first thing that you pay for is the comprehensive search. And by that, I mean, it's got to include, it can't just be a USPTO search. It's got to be a USPTO search by classification, because that's how it's organized, like a library, not keywords. But it needs to include an international piece to it. All right, because if your idea has been done anywhere in the world at any time in history, you will not be granted a US patent. It'll be considered prior art. So that international piece is really important. It also needs to include a product search, because there's a 2.5-year blind spot at the USPTO, and it's a legitimate blind spot. But a lot of times somebody will post a video, they'll go to a trade show, they'll put up a website, they'll do something before their patent has been made public, and you need to be able to find that if possible, all right? Because your attorney then can write around it. They can tell you, you can count this, but you can't claim that. And it helps you then to have a better shot at getting your patent through the process. But there's times when it comes back and you go, oh my God, this is exactly what I was doing. Well, now $500 doesn't seem like very much when you would have spent, 10 times that much on a patent or on prototypes. I get so many people that will go to an engineer to get a prototype done before they've even done a search, before they've even talked to an attorney. Do they have anything to file on? And now they've spent all this money on a prototype only to be told, oh, well, you can't do it that way. Well, the engineer is more than happy to redo it and fix the mistakes, but they're going to send you another invoice. So knowing what you can claim sooner rather than later is saving you money. So that's the first thing you do. All right. When you have the search done and then you look at it first, it allows you to frame the conversation with the attorney. When you talk to an attorney first and they do the search, they get to frame the conversation with you. That is not in your best interest. You should be asking the question. Your attorney is not your partner. They're a service provider. They're going to send you an invoice. So you need to be able to manage that, and it is your right to ask questions. But you can only ask questions if you get to frame the conversation. At least ask the best questions. Okay? Any other questions about kind of first steps in the process? All right. As a licensing agent, I help inventors license their intellectual property. So I'm Dave Clappage's clay patch, right? Long A, clay patch, grandpa. All right. I am his licensing agent. Well, as a licensing agent, I don't charge anything up front. So it's in my best interest when I have got a really cool product to make sure that the inventor takes the best first steps so that we can get to the point of licensing, right? So when you look at what does a licensee look for? Well, the first conversation with the licensee is about 15 seconds. All right. They're going to ask 4 questions. What problem did you solve? How did you solve it? Did you use a registered patent attorney? And can we make it at a price the consumer will pay for it? If you have the right answers to those, you get to go to the second conversation, which may be a little bit longer. Now you might be counting minutes instead of seconds, but they're down and dirty because time is precious. So when you're looking at a business plan, all right, if you're looking at licensing, most licensees don't want to see a business plan. So then if you're looking at raising money, yes, they definitely want to see a business plan. But you know what? For an inventor at an early stage, you're guessing. And if they're really serious about the whole process and they say, all right, have you made any? Then where did you get these numbers from? So when you look at then being able to, that might have been somebody trying to get into the meeting. I'll see if they leave a message. But when you look at manufacturing in another country, which a lot of inventors do, you want to be able to have somebody with their feet on the ground in the US who is acting on your behalf. All right. So you go to a company like ITI out of Texas or Picker Design, somebody that's got their feet on the ground here, and then they look for the country that's best for manufacturing so that you know who you're going to. They're going to deal with that paperwork. They're going to be the ones that help mitigate any translations issues, any problems. Now, filing internationally, it's called a PCT, the Patent Cooperation Treaty. It covers you in 160 odd countries for about 30 months until you decide which countries to go ahead and file in. All right. All right. Questions? That's kind of the overview. And a lot of you are in different parts of the phases. All right.
You said to do a patent search, to have somebody do a patent search for you. And I know it costs money. I checked. I know somebody who actually works at the patent office. They worked with me at IBM. He's not going to give me a free patent search, obviously. But I spoke to somebody at the British Patent Office. They have patent examiner. They said the cost is over there is like 180 pounds or something for a patent registration, which includes a full patent search, they said.
Well, you need to,
yeah.
you need to kind of space things out a little bit here and understand. Yes, every time you file a patent, it doesn't matter what country, they're going to charge you for a search. By then, it's too late to frame the conversation. All right, because now you filed something and they're going to tell you why your patent is not going to issue because they found something. For $500, you can find it first and then know how to frame the conversation. Because a lot of times what the search does when it comes back is it says, all right, well, this one is close, but yours is better because that's what the attorney wants to know. They can't read your mind. So you say, mine is different or better because, and if they say, well, that is an obvious improvement, you don't file, you don't waste the money to file or the time, right? So there's more than just money involved, there's time. And so when you're looking then at saying, all right, the different countries, they always include it. So does the US. They charge you as part of the USPTO filing fee for a search that they do. All right. But by the time you get that one back, you don't have time to redo your patent because you've already filed and they have found then the things that they're going to use against you. You're muted, Larry. You're muted.
I was quoted $2,000 for a patent search here in the U.S. of only U.S. patents. I was told,
Right.
Whereas the British patent examiner said 180 pounds, for theirs.
Well, just for theirs, all right. But you got to have a worldwide one done.
Yeah, I know, but it was a worldwide search. But I'm just saying that would be part of a patent application, though.
Right. And like I said, every country has got a search that is part of their patent application.
Right.
But the problem then is that you file where, you've got an attorney that's creating it and filing it for you. You'd rather know upfront what the argument should be, as opposed to finding out after the examiner has done the search and looked at it and go, we're not going to issue this patent because we found this one. All right. So,
okay, so
a comprehensive search here done by SearchQuest is $499, and that includes the international search and the product search.
Well, that's a lot different than what I was told. Okay.
I understand. All right. So, when SearchQuest, and the reason I know, all right, I'm going to be, full disclosure here, Dave knows this. I bought SearchQuest from a patent attorney about 12 years ago. He goes, this is what we need to know. He's a registered patent attorney. We need it done in the US by classification. We need an international search and we need a product search. And so we continued that. Now, when he sold me the company, it included a paralegal that was doing the searches, but she had been trained to think in billable time. I did not keep her on very long. I went out and I got researchers to do the searches. They don't think in billable time. They all have a master's in research and most of them work at libraries. All right. They think in the terms of, I haven't found it yet. Why not? And they go back and look again. All right. Still a flat rate to you. It doesn't matter how much time they spend on it. It's still $499 to the inventor.
Now, is that possible to do a better search by using AI, artificial intelligence?
Well, that's what they're using.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Any other questions? Oh, come on, guys. I know you don't want to just hear me talk.
I was wondering about what G was saying about, I heard her say something about grants. I think it was small business grant.
And Shelley was saying the same thing, is that, in different industries, you can go after grants. They do want a business plan, and you're still guessing at this stage, but that's what they want you to do, is fill out a grant. When it comes to intellectual property, all right, so this is where you take a look at your business. All right, if your business is more about the services, it's much easier to do a business plan. When it's all wrapped around the product that you're trying to get the patent on, the patent really comes first, because they're really not going to give you a grant on filing your intellectual property. They want to know that you've got intellectual property that gives them then some chance of getting, seeing their grant money used fortuitously. Right. So it's much harder to get the grant, even though, you're filing for a grant. And I've heard people that have gotten it and they've been able to use it on manufacturing. but it's much more difficult to use it on intellectual property.
Okay, now one thing I wonder about with the grants at SBIR, I remember years ago, I heard a story where an inventor in Connecticut had come up with a different or better blanket and had, I don't know what you call it, reactivated a mill on the Housatonic River in Connecticut, bought all this equipment, had a contract with the U.S. military. He had the money he got to start us all up was a SBIR grant to develop a better blanket. And he did that. And he had the mill going. He had employed, dozens of people with low wage, whatever, had no jobs and all that stuff. And it was a thriving business. And then after a year's time, the military decided to take that blanket manufacturing to Unicor, which is a U.S. federal government prison system, prison factory. And his business was shut down because of that. I'm just wondering if the SBIR still has that provision where the government gets a free license to take your invention basically and run away with it.
I've heard that story when it had nothing to do with it being an SBIR grant. I think that, if the government decides they want it, they're going to come in and get it. And there are times then where, the inventor will tell me a story and I'm thinking, that's not all the facts. And when I go back and I start finding out all the facts, it's like there was a little bit more to it than just the story they're telling you. So when you're looking then at, kind of what's going on, it's not an outrageous story that the government can come in and get something. So, they make movies about stuff like that, Larry, and they don't have a good ending for the inventor. So, I don't have an answer for you on that. But there's usually more to it than that.
So the SBIR does still have a provision where you lose your patent rights or something like that to the government if they decide to, let's say, farm it out.
I haven't looked at one of their contracts in a decade. So okay. I don't even know. I've never believed that was the best route for an inventor, the SBIR or the SBDC grants, because there's too many strings attached.
Okay.
Not my call. So Nina, you've got a question.
Thank you. Yes. Do companies offer licensing agreements if you don't have a patent?
Very good question. No.
Seriously?
I'm
wow.
All right. So let me put some parameters around that short, quick answer. A licensing agreement is the company is renting the right to use your intellectual property. If you don't have any intellectual property, there's nothing for them to rent and there's nothing for you to hold on to. All right. So when you look at you don't need a patent to go to market. All right. I mean, David is right about that. He's made things and sold things. There are certain industries where it is very, very difficult to get a patent. All right. One of those is technology. All right. Because by the time you get the patent ready to file, it's obsolete already because things change so fast. Okay. So now when you look at the other products, all right, a hammer. The original patents on tools, they run almost for the full 20 years before somebody gets out there and invents something with a new hammer. So there are certain industries where, it's better to be than in other industries. So when you look at then what a company is looking for, it is the intellectual property, the patent, that allows you to negotiate a deal. If you just say, oh, I've got this idea and I want to get a licensing agreement, well, ideas are like belly buttons. Everybody's got one and I can't sell yours. The whole idea then, it's the intellectual property that allows you to hold them accountable or to say, this is mine and you can't take it. No patents, no negotiations. It's pretty straightforward.
But what if you have a product that's been successful in the market and you take it to like a major company and they want to carry it and they want to license it? That's not something that can happen. They just literally just buy it wholesale. Is that what you're saying?
What they can do is they can buy it wholesale and then sell it at their price point markup. But there is nothing that you can do that can stop them from copying you.
Right. Well, and also, as I've been told since I've been doing it for so many years, as you know, that a patent is only as good as you can defend it. So
That's
if
right. That's why
you
most
don't have the money to defend it, it doesn't matter.
no, but
But
that's why so many inventors go after licensing, because the licensee defends it.
okay. Well, and I was also told that even more so nowadays, that a lot of these major companies don't want to go in and steal your product because it will make them look bad. And I guess with social media, that can become an issue for them.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Go to sleep with that at night so you have good dreams.
Oh,
You know,
thank you.
the reality check is you can find good guys out there and bad guys out there. It really just depends on, you know, who it is you happen to touch base with. There was a company out there that we had a great product, and, you know, we were talking to them, and I said, and I told the inventor finally, I said, don't go there. These guys have a horrible reputation for stealing intellectual property. John Deere, they have a horrible reputation for stealing intellectual property. You know, I had a guy that he went out, invented a full-size functioning tractor. It was a wonderful piece of equipment, painted it John Deere green. And I said, what part of they steal intellectual property are we just not getting here? Paint it yellow. But it's like, oh no, my brother works for Caterpillar. They would never do that. Your brother's a salesman. All right. He doesn't have any control over the corporate level. But there are companies that have got a really bad reputation. And then there are companies that's like, you know, they would be really stand up. They would do it, you know, they would stand behind you. But if the guy that made the deal, Nina, dies, and you get another guy who says, we don't have an agreement with her, she's got no intellectual property, why do we have to honor this agreement? If you can say, I have it in writing, and that's why you have to honor it, now at least you've got something to stand on.
Okay.
All right. If you've got nothing and the current changes, you've got nothing. Okay, Steve.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Steve.
I just want to make a quick note, and again, you know, without any experience, only watching, you know, movies or shows. But with if a big company does steal your idea, I'm thinking maybe there's a chance of settlement, which means to me like, hey, you know, it's not a total loss. But my main question is, in your experience, Rita, when do we decide, okay, in my mind, my product, I would like it to be an exclusive license, but I've also heard there's non-exclusive license. So,
It
like,
depends. It depends, Steve, on what you've got actually, and does it cover more industries? Now, where I've seen, you know, the good licensing agreements, all right, is where one company licenses it, so you only have to track one, and they sell it to multiple industries. Sometimes they make a slight adjustment, but for them, it's all about the numbers. It's not about, you know, hoarding it. All right. Then there's other times where a company will say, no, we just really don't work in that industry, but we can understand the application to it. And then we'd go and we get another deal. Sometimes it's geography. You know, they only do North America, but the product has got a life in Europe. So then we go and we look for a licensing deal over there. If the company that is making it, and that is licensed it and is making it in the US will also make, then all we need are distributors in the EU. All right, we don't have to go after another licensing deal. So again, it really kind of depends on, you know, what you've got, and where you're at in the process. You need a sexy prototype to be able to go after a licensing deal. All right, Shelley, you had your hand up.
Yes, continuing the thread of licensing, and maybe I asked this a few months ago when I was on, I don't recall, to be honest with you. Is a licensing expo that's usually in Vegas worth it?
Nope.
Okay. Short and quick. Now I'm curious why.
Okay. Why? More than happy to fill in the gaps there. All right. You want to go to a trade show that is in your industry.
Okay.
All right. At a licensing expo, it is a feeding frenzy and you are the main course. All right. Everybody is there to sell you services. You need to be able to go to the show that is for your industry. And there is a show for everything. Now, we go to the National Hardware Show because it covers the most industries. You know, we can do everything from the workshop and the garage to the kitchen to, you know, the pets and the backyard barbecue grill. So we look at that one because it does cover so many industries. But I've been to the National Asphalt Show. So there literally is a show for everything. And that's what you want to be able to do.
Okay.
Dave.
What about getting a provisional patent and approaching companies for licensing while you have the provisional patent?
All right. Grandpa, I'll come back to you. So the good question, Dave, is that, companies don't license provisional patent applications. They want to see the non-provisional. So when you do file the provisional, and I've heard a couple of you talk about, you file the provisional. The provisional is what you use to mark your time. All right. So it should be the front half of the patent. So when your patent attorney, like the ones I work with, all right, we know that there's a ballpark of hours, and that your provisional is the front half. It's the first 12 to 15 hours, and then your non-provisional is the back half, the next 15 hours. And then altogether, you end up with, it takes them, 30 to 35 hours to do a full patent. So it works out best when it's, the front half and the back half, but it's got to have enough in it that if you end up in court to defend that patent, all right, that you've got an enabling disclosure in it and a judge knows it's yours. All right. When legally, you could write it out on toilet paper and send it in and they have to accept it. That's not really where you want to be defending the patent if somebody challenges your filing date. But what a company licenses then, because they want to look at it, they want to know they can defend it. The guy that did Bunch of Balloons, Josh Malone, I refer to him, on a regular basis. Great product. If you've got grandkids, I am sure you have filled up water balloons. I have done it many, many times. I used Bunch of Balloons before I ever knew Josh Malone was the inventor. He licensed his to a toy company in New Zealand. All right. When it was infringed on, the toy company spent $20 million defending it. They won 50. And Josh will be the first one to tell you that if he had not filed internationally and he had not licensed it, he would never, ever have had the money to defend it. All right. But that's
a book that I read was suggesting you file you get a provisional patent, you approach a company, and then the company will then, if they're interested in the product, based on the fact you've got the provisional patent, will go ahead and arrange and file for the final patent.
Sure, they will. They would love to do that. Absolutely. And you've lost all control.
Well, of course, the idea is that they sign an agreement with you, saying, they're licensing it from you, and they're buying basically the right to your provisional patent, which then enables them to go ahead and file the patent.
Right. All right. Now think about that. Does that really make sense to you? If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Because if their name goes on that patent because they paid for it on the non-provisional and now they breached the contract and stopped paying you royalties, the fight that you have to say that they are in breach of contract is really, really hard. If your name is on the patent and you send them, you are in breach of contract because you stopped paying royalties, right? Now you can pull it back, and because your name is on the patent, you can go and find another licensee.
A question?
Right? The only thing that gives you leverage is your name that is on that patent and the fact that you own it. All right. So, Dave Clappage, Clay Patch, I use a soft A on that.
Clay Patch. I'm working on my website right now, and I'm hearing you talk about John Deere. How detailed should I be or not be on my website? And should I be afraid that somebody like John Deere would see it and steal the idea before I could find a licensee?
Oh.
Did I freeze or did you freeze?
I think she's
frozen.
Oh, she froze.
Yeah, she froze.
Yeah, we lost it. It's frozen.
Okay, yeah. Maybe she can call into the meeting while she's still frozen.
Just wondering whether or not it still applies that a patent being filed on an invention still has to have the name of the original creator.
Well, like we just said, the patent should be in your name, even if you're working with a licensee. And the way I understand it, that they would actually give you compensation for you to finish getting the patent made. So it would still be in your name, and they have part of your licensing agreement might be for them to give you $10,000, $20,000 towards that, but it's still going to be in your name.
I'm not talking about a licensing thing. I worked for a major corporation. I developed this design for a device, a technology. And of course, they went ahead and patented it. And nobody ever asked me to sign a patent application. And now they're claiming, you know, their scientists came up with this design. Funny thing, I worked with this. I worked with another company. I worked with the same company in another different division, and employees there were looking for ideas to suggest to get money because the company had a employee suggestion program. So I wrote up a suggestion form and I put in the design of the device that I had designed, and they submitted it. And next thing you know, they had 12 people from legal and engineering, research and development, asking one of the people there where they came up with all the details for that design. So in other words, they had, you know, boom, somebody else has that information, you know, about how the actual design works.
Now, you didn't work for the company, correct?
I was contracted. That's the thing. Yeah.
Okay. So, because
But I'm just
usually,
thinking,
if you look in the contracts, usually they say that any ideas that you come up with are theirs if you're working.
oh, I
for
understand that.
Yeah.
I understand that's part of a contract where you work with your employment.
Right.
As far as the U.S. Patent Service, Patent Office goes, isn't it still in the law that they have to have the name of the original creator on the patent?
That I'm not sure of.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to find out. I mean, I'm not going to sue them for anything. I just, you know,
Yeah.
I'd
I know
just
if
like
you
to
have
get credit for it.
I know if you have a partner that
right.
that you're working with, then you would have to have them listed. But you could ask Rita that question.
Yeah.
Yes, sorry guys, my electricity bumped and the generator kicked on and it kicks me out for a few seconds. So, you know, my background there truly is the forest, and so when you see me sitting there, that's what I look out on every day. But you were saying yes, your name as the inventor goes on the patent. All right, so you're listed there, but the guy who pays the money is the one who's got the power. All right, you know, it's in a perfect world, your name goes on the patent, you know, and that's great. But when you look at, you know, a licensee, they're going to pay to do all the manufacturing, all the marketing, defend the patent, and what you paid for was the patent. All right, they're going to defend the patent once you would file it if it's infringed on, but you paid for the patent. That was your contribution to it. And you know, it is the only thing that gives you leverage. Now, like I said earlier, in a perfect world, all right, if somebody, you know, they're stand-up guys, you know, on the show, it had Michael Miller. I've known him for years, and one of his original contracts, you know, showed that if the company that licensed the product wanted to give away 50,000 units, they wouldn't have to pay any royalty at all. And he goes, oh my God, that's not what we meant. And it would never happen that way. And I said, well, not as long as you're alive, but if you get hit by a beer truck tomorrow, that certainly could be the way the contract is read. And he goes, yeah, I see your point. They changed their contract and they've never gone back to the old wording. I saw his contract a couple of years ago and they had the correction in it still. So you need to keep in mind, all right, it's not a perfect world out there. You have to make sure that you protect yourself as much as possible. Owning and maintaining and keeping your name on the payment fact, all right, is the only thing that allows you to pull it back, at least without getting into a legal fight. And believe me, a legal fight over ownership of the patent is going to cost you a lot less than filing the patent, or it should. When I get inventors that say, I spent $50,000 on my patent, it's like, oh my goodness, you should have had a different attorney. All right, so Ms. Tube is lined up for questions. I am really
I was asking, but when you got cut off, Rita, I was asking you about the website. I'm in the process of developing a website, and I was designing the site so that if we had a potential licensee, they could go to the site and see as much information as they would need to at least make a decision or make an appointment. But is that dangerous to put that much information in a website that somebody like John Deere would see it and copy it?
Well, you're going to have big ones out there, but you can't wait, or you spend all your life hiding. The idea is to get out there. All right. They don't just sit and look. You're better off actually going after things before your patent has been published. All right. There are people out there that just look for published patents. It's 18 months from the time of filing that your patent gets published. And now it is open eyes to all the world. And so when we say there's a legitimate 2.5 blind spot at the USPTO, it is a legitimate blind spot because you don't get published yet. But that's where you can kind of pick and choose where you go. Now, what we would do is go out and, work with you on a list of potential companies that would make and sell your product. And then we would go out on LinkedIn to find them.
So what I'm saying is, should I not make this website public?
No, because you're patent pending. You filed your non-utility, or you filed your provisional, and otherwise you're just constantly running after non-disclosures. And
right, but do I have to worry about a company seeing it and copying it?
Well, you always have to be aware of it, but because you filed in the US, all right, then you can, if somebody in Mexico decides they want to make them, and most infringements on patents happen from someone in the US that has them made in another country and shipped in, but you can stop them at customs.
So I should keep going with the website in great detail?
Yes.
And make it public?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Okay. You don't need to make it public until it's done, but we need to be able to send people to it to look at it.
Right, but I could put a password protection on there, so then you just give that person the password and only those people could see it.
You could, but the chances are that there are people out just there searching for that thing at this point. I really wouldn't worry about it. The idea is get as many people to see it as you can.
Okay, so just keep it open at this point.
Yeah,
okay,
absolutely.
Okay.
All right, Shelley. Oh, you're muted.
Sorry, but I lost internet connection. But to follow up with the question about the website, with my website, I never show how the tablet or your phone actually connects to the back of, to the front of the stand. I never explain that. I never show it because I don't want anyone to steal it. I mean, at least not right yet. I show it in other capacities, but I just deliberately don't show that. And maybe eventually I have to, but right now I don't.
Dave's is pretty straightforward. If he did a video on how it worked,
oh yeah,
that'd pretty much be it. So there's no hidden plugs on his.
That's true.
So, all right. Who else has got a question?
Can I ask another question? Does anyone here have a Shopify account?
I don't.
Shopify website, I should say. Sorry. Okay. So I'm changing my website from Wix to Shopify. So just curious.
So, nope, I don't.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Anybody else have any questions? Steve, you have any questions for us?
Oh, no. Well, just, I mean, not really a question, just something like a comment. Has anybody here, or do you read when looking at our product or a patent, like question, like, okay, how does it compete with others, or is there maybe, because like when I was trying to create my product, I try to make it mechanical, like a part of the product. I try to make it mechanical, which now I realize that was a bad idea. It was, I realized to just keep it short and simple, make it simple, so that the point of it is to see if anybody would buy it. That's what I realized. Like, okay, just make it a simple product that are people willing to buy it. Go ahead.
So what I look at when I'm working with an inventor early stage, all right, is to go to where it would resell. All right. So I had a lady, she's got a very cool new product. I think it's really cute. And so it's a new type of diaper for little boys. So they can emulate daddy. And, she's done a good job with her prototype. And I said, all right, we need some feedback on this. And one of the guys that was a professional in the industry says, does she have inventory? I'll take it to Target and Walmart, because that's what he does, sell baby products. I go, that's enough of an answer. We're good to go on this. And so I told her, I said, go to daycare providers, go to places where people would use it and be excited and parents would be able to see it. Get some professional feedback, not friends and family. All right. They're going to tell you they love it because they love you. So what you need to do is then be able to get professional feedback. And for that, you can use a fairly rough prototype. If you're going to be showing it to a consumer, now you need a sexy prototype. And that for a lot of times you need to hire a professional. So generally the person we use for that first stage prototype, that proof of concept sexy prototype, is Scott Tarsi. And I can send you his contact information if you want me to. Send me an email and remind me. But he is very good at those first stage prototypes. For manufacturing, either in this country or overseas, Shelley, I would send you to ITI or Kicker Design. They're going to be the ones that would then oversee which country it was made in, so that you don't have to worry about it. All right. And same thing with who else? Rhonda, you were having issues with dealing with the paperwork and everything. These guys mitigate that for you and do it on your behalf, so that the product just shows up. Okay. ITI Manufacturing, yes.
And what was the other company you mentioned right after it? I didn't write it down.
Kicker Design. I've got all their personal contact information, so I can send it to you. So that way you don't have to go through their website.
Thank you.
I know the guys.
I figured you would.
Yeah. Little Snoopers. Sorry, you were logging in about the time I was losing my internet connection. Introduce yourself. And give us a first name. I'm sure it's not Little.
You're wrong. No, you're right. It's Jeremy. I develop IP for a living. That's a TV show. And that's not this one. Anyway, and so what I have is a battery electric vehicle range extender product. And I was actually kind of coming on here to see if there's like anything about like prototyping and manufacturing. I'm pretty confident in the trademarking and that process, so I'm not worried about that. It's just I'm looking for engineers and prototypers more than anything.
Okay, that's going to be ITI and Kicker Design. They do beautiful work. I've known ITI for 15 years. They did products with some of the inventors that I knew in the Colorado area. But if you can send me an email, I will send you the direct contact. All right. My email
What's your
address,
email?
it's rita@inventorlady.com. Easy.
Okay.
All right. Phone number 303-910-8889. It's all over. If you Google Inventor Lady, you will have more information about me than you ever wanted to know. Dan.
I would be interested to learn more about that Little Snoopers for a vehicle that I'm working on as well.
All right. Well, the two of you can share information as you would like to. G.
Can you give me the website for the Search Quest?
It's Search Quest Patents. Let me see if I can. I'm not real good at doing I get busy talking and then I forget how to send a message.
And approximately how long does this take?
Takes about 2 weeks to get it back.
Okay.
$500
you
bucks?
first have a consult with them or do you just put all the information in and?
I send you the information, and because I own the company, I sign the non-disclosure non-compete because the searchers are already bound to me with a non-disclosure non-compete. And if anybody needs a non-disclosure non-compete, then here, I'm just getting ready to put my email address in there. I give those away free, and it's not just, I'm not going to tell anybody, but I'm not going to do anything that competes against you either. And that's a really important piece that a lot of those non-competes don't have out there, those non-disclosures. It's not that you just don't want someone else to say anything about it. If you're talking to a company, you certainly don't want them to compete against you. All right. So I give those away free. If you want one, just shoot me an email. And then we also give away a work for hire agreement. So if you're hiring like a design company, you need a work for hire agreement so that you can put in the terms. They can't read your mind and you can't read theirs. And if they say, oh, it won't take us very long, well, in their mind, that might be 2 months, and in your mind, it might be 2 weeks. If you've got it in writing, you know. And what are the payment options? So that's really important. But Search Quest, it's searchquestpatents.com.
Who was it that had the bicycle chain oiling thing?
Dave Claypatch.
You have the prototype, you have this something manufactured?
Yeah, I have prototypes. I'm actually making. I actually made a mold and a jig and fixture for actually making them for my test market. I mean, I'm not going to sell them like in huge volumes, but but I'm able to manufacture them. It's a fairly simple product. It's amazing that it works as well as it does, and for as simple as it is. And so I'm fortunate that it's not very expensive and that it's easy to make. So I'm able to make prototypes myself. And the packaging, you know, I've got a photography background. I've also got some design background, and so it's helped me. And you know, I've had more businesses that I started than I can count at this point. But so a lot of that stuff that most people would have to farm out, I could do a lot of it myself.
Yeah.
Shelley?
Just wondering, city bikes in New York City. They have, you know, thousands of bicycles that are on racks all around Manhattan. And
yeah, my son lives in Boston, and that's on my list is to go talk to the guys because they had the same thing in Boston. And you could have those 20 bikes in a row. I could lubricate every chain in that whole thing in 5 minutes. I could do all the chains there. So once they hopefully once they get their hands on it, they'll see that it's easy to do because those bikes are sitting out in the rain all day long.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so they should be lubed. You know.
Shelley, go ahead.
Do you have any companies you'd recommend for packaging design?
I've got a gentleman who can help design packaging. He is out of Texas.
Okay.
But like I said, if you send me an email, I'll send you all of their contact information.
All
And
right.
he's got a wonderful portfolio of different things that he's done.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Jeremy, you said you sent me an email?
Yes, I did.
Yep, I got you. Okay. All right, I will get back to you on anybody that sends me an email. I'll get back to you tomorrow. And anybody else have questions? If you have any questions during the time, you need any of the service providers, contacts, informations, forms, all you've got to do is, you know, shoot me an email and I'll get it back to you.
I have a question for Dave. The one with
Which one? There's 3 of them.
the grease man, the lube man. You're the lube guy.
The lube guy. Okay.
Did you try a couple of companies to formulate your product, or did you just find the first one and it was a success?
I don't know what you mean. As far as making the prototype, you mean?
Yeah. Did you do it did you find the ingredients, or how did that go?
Well, I've developed it all myself. So I came up with the idea on my without going into a big history. My dad was a tool maker and an inventor. All my brothers were engineers, so our family is very engineer oriented. So I was able to make my own prototypes and come up with the idea and do the testing and everything myself. Is that what you're asking?
Okay. Yeah. Oh, I was wondering if the ingredients, I guess you formulated it yourself.
Well, no, actually, it's not the actual lubricant that I'm selling. It's the device that does the lubricating. So you would add the matter of fact, the licensing company that I might go to might be a lubricating company, and they would actually license my product to use with their lubricant.
You know, this is the second time I've met you, and I'm just finding out now that you're not actually selling the lube. It's the apparatus that distributes the lube.
Correct. I am actually making 2 versions of it. One version, you can add your own lube, any kind of lube that you want. And another version of it is going to be sealed, where the manufacturer would fill it with their own lubricant and they would sell it. But in both cases, I'm selling the applicator to somebody and licensing it to them.
Got it.
And the last time you met him, he couldn't talk about it because the patent hadn't been filed.
Right.
So he was keeping it pretty close to his chest.
Okay. Well, actually, then that's a good question. Does anybody have anyone who's really good with doing the ingredients for things, I guess?
All right. So ingredients in what are these all OTC ingredients?
Makeup.
Okay.
Well, because my product's more makeup.
So you're buying stuff OTC, all right, to make a new product.
No, it's
Brand
all
new.
it's all
All right.
Yeah.
So you need a chemist.
yeah.
All right. All right. Just had to, understand exactly what you were doing. So, I know a chemist, and she invented her own product. So she certainly might at least be a conversation.
Yeah. What product was it?
She did the powder that goes with the stoma, so it goes against her skin. All right, and she's licensing it now. We're in conversations with the company to license it, and but she is a chemist. She's an engineer, a chemical engineer, and so she might be one. Otherwise, the other engineers I know are they're not the chemical engineer in that regard. I don't know. We'll have to think about that.
Okay.
Let me check around. I know that some of the engineers that I do know, when they have products that require that, they send them out to someplace else. So shoot me over an email. And then before you have anything where you've got to pay them, we want to make sure you get your search done so that you can give them better parameters. If you can say, all right, look at this patent and make these changes. All right, because they can't read your mind. And if you've got something to give them to start with, it makes it a lot easier for them. But it seems to me that Kicker Design, when something came in and it needed, more of the, I don't want to say lubricants because that's, just the wrong industry right now, but the face creams. Oh, I know. If makeup. All right. There's a lady in Logan, Utah, who makes makeup. And she would probably be a really good one. She is really good friends with my daughter. I have tested several products that she's done. Okay. And some of them I use wholeheartedly, and other ones I said, you might want to do a little more research on this one and stuff. But I can send you her contact information as well, make an introduction for you. But yeah, she's going to be more in your field.
Thank you.
All right. Steve.
Steve,
yeah.
Yes. So I'm new here. This is my first meeting. But I remember hearing you talking about licensing and working with us. So at the stage of at what point where you can actually team up with us. So in my case, it's patent pending, but I do have a prototype. It's not a fancy prototype, but I can create a sell sheet. But I'm assuming once I create are you needing to see a prototype for the consumer, or just a basic?
We call that first one a proof of concept prototype. And I start working with a lot of inventors like I did with Dave. It's like, I have an idea, what do I do first? And it helps us then make sure that you've taken the right steps for teeing something up for licensing. So the sooner is better. All right, because like I said, as a licensing agent, I don't charge anything up front. So making sure that you didn't make any mistakes is in your best interest, because I know what a licensee is looking for, and they're looking for certain things. So what they want to see now is the proof of concept prototype at a bare minimum, that you've got at least in the beginning you've got a provisional patent application, you've taken the right steps, you used a registered patent attorney. But they're not going to take a serious look at it until you've filed the non-provisional. Right, because they need to be able to evaluate it to see if they can defend it. So you want to make sure that that's a good one, and then proof of concept prototype. From there, then we use your sell sheet, all right, and we start going out with video, all right, showing the product in use, getting testimonials, being able to, not just your testimonial, you're the inventor. We want testimonials from other people, users, people in the industry, like when Dave went out and got, different bike owners, shop owners and stuff. We want to be able to get, the lady with the diaper. We want, daycare people to give testimonials. that kind of thing. So, you know, sometimes we can work with bare minimum, then look at going to the next best trade show for you. All right. So depending on what it is, you know, get to the next, you know, professional trade show. That is where they go, you know, your industry. That is where the companies go that would license intellectual property. They would license your product, is at the trade shows. That's where they're going. That's where they go visiting. You could spend months trying to get through their layers of you know, assistants and secretaries and emails and everything, or they're there standing there having coffee, and you want to show them a prototype. So we get a lot of inventors go to the National Hardware Show. All they've got is a prototype and patent pending status. And that's what they're going, is they're going to do reconnaissance. They're going to check it out, check out interest, check out price points, packaging, all those kinds of things. David.
One suggestion I'd like to make, I don't know if you have any thoughts on this, Rita, is if for people that want to make prototypes, especially if they're going to be coming with a number of inventions, is to see if you can find a local maker space and get together with people.
Yeah, that's, you know, a lot of people do that. A lot of times the library will have one. Local colleges frequently will have one. Sometimes there's just, you know, I think Denver's got probably 5 or 6 different maker spaces where you can go then and you can get a, you know, somebody who's already got the rapid prototype machine. They know how to use it. Now they may get you a proof of concept prototype, which is great. Sometimes you might have to go then the next step up for the sexy prototype, but it's always a good place to go and to start, is your, you know, your local makerspace.
You know, I mean, I belong to a makerspace. I just came from a meeting, and we have 3D printers. We've got metal working machines, welding machines, woodworking machines, electronic components, the whole bit. And this is a small town. This is New Smyrna Beach, which is basically a retirement community, and we're lucky there. But within an hour's drive, Orlando is several maker spaces. They've got genetic engineering machines there and everything. Yeah. So you can get a lot of equipment, and the people there who are experts on all the different machines and everything. And you get together with one of those, and you ask them to help you out, and you can make a pretty good prototype that way.
Yeah, absolutely. I know when we were in Colorado, we used to meet in a makerspace, and so a lot of times there were, you know, people there, you know, fiddling around on things, and a lot of times they came to, you know, the people that were working different things, they came to our meeting and would show off their products. So makerspace, and like I said, a lot of times a library will have access to a makerspace or support a makerspace. They certainly know of them. Universities are another really good resource to find, you know, those. Sometimes they've got a class that they're looking for a project for the, you know, for the kids.
Is there a database of makerspace?
Yeah,
you know, you can check, you know, a geographical area, you know, maybe your town, and then put in makerspace. You can start at, like I said, the library. A lot of times if you put in, you know, meetup and then makerspace in, you know, the name of your town, it'll start pulling up some options.
Do Google search. There is actually a list that I pulled up after doing a Google search. That was a list of, you know, it's like the organization of makerspaces, and it's like, you know, a list of all the major makerspaces that include every library and everything. Yeah, but as you say, even a library will often have a full of 3D printing machines and things like that.
A lot of them are franchises, so if you find one in one city, you can search for the same thing in your town.
Yeah.
Yeah, just do a Google search, or as you said, Meetup has things like that, all sorts of things.
So yeah, I mean, if you take a few minutes to look around and Google even, you know, makerspace in the town, a lot of times it'll start coming up with options. I think even if you went into, like, you know, your GPS system on your phone and put in makerspace, it's going to start with you as the blue dot and show you the different options. So there are certainly easy ways to find them, Larry. Okay. And there are thousands of them out there.
Thank you.
There really are. All right, guys. Any other questions? All right. One of my favorite things to ask the next time around is, what did you accomplish since the last meeting? So be ready, be prepared, and watch out for the scoundrels out there. There's lots of them. And if you ever have any questions about whether or not, you know, somebody, we've got one of the ladies that is from, she's in Texas. And she goes, I have not gotten my prototype back. It's been 4 months. And so she is going to now Scott Tarsi for her prototype. And she's filed a complaint against these guys and she paid up front. So if you've got questions about, you know, a process or what's going on, I sent her the work for hire agreement. I said, use it. It helps. It gives you a way to hold someone accountable. And, you know, so if you had any questions, you know, during the month before the next meeting or before you can get back, just shoot me an email. I'm happy to answer for you.
You have a listing of reputable patent promotion firms?
I've got 6 attorneys that I work with, registered
Okay.
patent attorneys that I work with.
I'm not talking things like, what are those ones they advertise on TV all the time?
No. These are registered patent attorneys. And if they used a template to fill in the blank, I'd smack them with a stick. So.
You're talking about patent attorneys. Well, wouldn't it be a lot cheaper to use a patent agent rather than a patent attorney if you're simply trying to file for the patent?
But then they're not your attorney of record, and that's important. And the attorneys that I work with, the attorneys who I work with, they charge a really reasonable rate. It's $2.10 an hour. I know what a particular phase, how many hours it should be, and I kind of act as your representative when dealing with them. So if you have any questions, I can hold them accountable, and they don't get to send me an invoice.
I can vouch for that too.
Yeah. No, and they can't do anything that's billable time if you haven't approved it. So it makes a difference that we can hold them accountable. All right. All right, guys, if you have any questions, let me know. I'm going to stop the recording and we will then